Before we start the video, please go check out some of your other ones after, of course, you watch this one. Also, please consider liking and subscribing. Alright, let's get back to it. We are living in a golden age when it comes to movies. Really, a lot of recently released and soon-to-be released movies have just been really good, taking the genre to new highs and some new lows. But nonetheless, good movies, bad movies, we are thriving to be able to have a plethora to choose from. We have looked to movies to distract or be swept away into another world, or put in a situation that we could never imagine us being in. Ever since 1878, when the first movie to ever be created was shot and made, it wasn't even a movie like we know today, but by definition, certainly it is the grandfather and the Big Bang of cinema. The Horse in Motion, which in 1880 it officially became a movie when Edward Muybridge used his newfound invention, the zoopraxiscope. Sorry if I messed up that pronunciation. I guess you can call this the first movie projector as well. He then went on and played his 3-second clip of a man riding a horse to demonstrate that when a horse is running, all of its hooves are off the ground at the same time. But the first animated film to be made was Phantasmagoria in 1908, made with pen on paper drawing, then double exposed to get that negative film effect. After this, filmmaking will never be the same. We know the classics, but something that I feel like has been skyrocketing over the past 14 years or so is animated movies. They've really come to a new stage, kind of taking the spotlight from live action, especially with the rise of a new animated style that takes animated movies to the next level. So in this video, I'm going to be discussing how animation is not only meant for children, but for everyone, and that we are entering a new era of animation, and for good reason, may never look back. Alright, let's get started. Let's first talk about the problem of a lot of people having the notion that animated movies should strictly be for kids and that it's a kids genre. Nowadays, there's so much more than that. A lot of animated movies today aren't your kid-friendly type anymore. We have come a long way from Snow White, having themes that just are much more complex than back then, but her ride is pretty scary, I'll give her that. Now, when you look at movies from the modern era like Megamind, a fun-looking adventure about a blue bad guy on the surface, but once you start to fully understand its themes, it's really about just because someone is labeled something doesn't mean that they have to necessarily be that. Megamind was born to be bad. Everything he knew was bad, but he realizes that maybe he doesn't want to be bad anymore. And he wants to change because all along, he was a good guy. And maybe all bad guys can be good if someone just gave him the chance to prove it. Another stigma these films carry is that if you're well above the age of a child and if you enjoy animated movies over quote-unquote live-action real movies, then you're weird. In my opinion, I think that animated movies are meant for everyone. They have elements in them that appeal to all ages. If you're watching this and you think that enjoying animation more than live-action movies is something to be ashamed of, don't be. There's a lot of people who feel like you do, so enjoy what you want to enjoy. For example, I recently went to go see Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and I did not see one kid in there. Not one. You know, I'm 20 by the way, so what does that tell you? Anyway, go watch that movie. It's really good. I'm really excited for next year. When talking about how the film industry views animated movies, a really inspiring quote from Guillermo del Toro really got a lot of people thinking. He said the following: "Animation is cinema. Animation is not a genre for kids, it is a medium." And he also said, "This is an art form that has been kept commercially and industrially at the kids' table for so long. A win helps, but it is about going forward as a community and making it." End quote. During his acceptance speech, he also jokingly said that his movie Pinocchio was not for kids unless you explain it to them, which is also really true. That really is a complex movie, and also a really good film. I agree with him. Animated movies are cinema. Just because there's no real person there conveying an emotion to make the viewer feel some type of way, these movies can still pull at the heartstrings and make the viewer think about their life and question thought, the same way a live-action movie can. Even sometimes animated movies can offer more than live action. There's just things that work way better. When talking about what's more visually impressive, yes, I know it's animated and it can look like however the director and artist want. And in live action, it's up to where it's being filmed and how it's going to look in post. But the brilliance of animated movies is that it's being able to have the dull or really colorful setting at will is amazing. Same thing with characters. Some could argue that you just can't get the same feeling in the person on screen in an animated movie as opposed to real life. But even so, you can still feel the emotion, the sadness and happiness being shown to you. And of course, yes, you can still connect with the animated character. Okay, so that's enough of that debate. Let me know down below if you consider animated movies as real cinema. Anyway, a movie that raised the bar to a new high and is now basically the standard for making a successful and impactful animated film is 2018's smash hit Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. This movie, when it first released, just really elevated and showed everyone that there's always a new high for everything. Spider-Verse, a movie released at a time when animated movie technology was already pretty much established. But when other animation studios and companies saw the success of Sony's film, they all wanted a piece of that cake. Spider-Verse's attention to detail is second to none. Really, it's a colorful and vibrant world filled with so much to unpack. The animation even fits in the story itself. Miles throughout the whole movie is animated in less frames than everyone else. He's at 12 frames per second, while everyone's at 24. This is because he has not yet embraced who he is and hasn't learned to be fully Spider-Man. He hasn't taken the leap of faith. But eventually, yes, after he does, he catches up with everyone at 24 frames. Just amazing, really. No other film that I can think of has done this. Like, who has done this? And with only $90 million budget, oh my god, this movie is just going to live in a special place of everyone's hearts and mine. Really just amazing. Following their huge success, like I mentioned earlier, most studios started to emulate the Spider-Verse animation style. Movies like The Bad Guys, a movie with its strange yet likable characters and visually appealing animation, a good movie all around. But perhaps the biggest one being Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, which just shows how you can emulate a movie style but by also making it your own. Puss in Boots is one of the best animated movies in recent times, with its quick animation and vibrant colors and unique humor. Don't forget, one of the best things to come out of that movie: death. A very mysterious yet cool wolf that just takes the movie to the next level. All of this can be thanked to Spider-Verse's big impact. Now, I won't say much about Across the Spider-Verse since it's still a new movie and I don't want anyone to get spoiled, but based off what I've seen, this movie has once again pushed the boundaries of animation and the benchmark even further than anyone could have imagined. Going into this, I was like, okay, it's going to be good, but can it be better than the first one? And wow, I came out of that theater mind blown, and even now I'm still processing what I saw. But I can confidently say that the animation industry is going to look to Sony and the Spider-Verse series to try to copy their style, which isn't bad. I don't want anyone to think that I'm hating on the studios that are doing that. If anything, I'm glad that this style is being adopted, and I look forward to seeing what future movies can either once again move the genre to a new level or make just a really good movie. Most likely though, it's probably going to be Beyond the Spider-Verse. But this effect of a new animation era is not only being held by a traditional animation style, it's something that is global. Particularly, let's take a look at how anime movies have impacted the genre. The first movie that comes to mind is the Demon Slayer Mugen Train arc film. This film was amazing. It was well received all over the world, making over $500 million and selling millions of tickets. It was also the top grossing movie of 2020, a year where we needed something like this. But we all know that if a movie makes a lot of money, that doesn't automatically mean that it's good. Ahem. Yes. Demon Slayer movie was a roller coaster. It had so much emotions, great action, and just a really good movie. The voice acting was amazing. I hold and consider voice actors as real actors. It takes a lot. Imagine you're reading something like this. The Demon Slayer movie was... Come on, give me emotion, give me feeling. The movie did a great job of making the viewer feel like you're a part of the team and that you're on the mission with them. Perhaps the saddest moment, spoiler if you haven't seen the movie yet, was at the end when the Flame Hashira Rengoku died. The emotion and the feeling of losing someone who was just so good-hearted and righteous was all too real. Switching over to another really good anime film, it's Jujutsu Kaisen 0, having its dark moments and touching on the theme of loss and the struggles of trying to fit in, something that a lot of people are familiar with. Jujutsu Kaisen 0 was a really great movie visually and the action was noteworthy. Finally, let's jump over to a movie that doesn't have any crazy explosions or insane fight scenes, but instead grabs the viewer by the heartstrings and emotions, A Silent Voice. When I first saw this movie, I was like, wow, this is one of the best movies I've seen in recent times. The ability to feel both heartwarming and heartbroken at the same time is something that is very difficult for a movie to do, and this one pulls it off beautifully. Even though some people might just see this movie and be like, oh look, it's an anime thing for the kids. In no way is this movie for children. There's nothing to keep their attention, and I believe it's for all ages, but it would not be appreciated by someone who's younger. Which goes back to the point of this video. Animation has come a long way, and we're in a new era of it. A Silent Voice touches on some really tough topics like bullying, social anxiety, and suicide. This movie not only shows a beautiful redemption story, but also may connect with the viewer by showing them that their struggles in life are something that other people may have to deal with as well. On the subject of how different types of animation styles impacted the culture, we have the very impressive art of stop motion. Pinocchio, like I mentioned earlier, was a spectacle. It took the classic story of Pinocchio, but instead of making it the same old thing over and over, Guillermo really took it and made it his own. This movie is a definition of animated cinema. The storytelling was amazing, and the characters, the connections that they built with each other was really nice to watch. This one deals with the problems of war and oppression, but also with inner human problems as well, things like loss, grief, and the greatest of all, death. This is a very emotional movie. I know I've been saying that word a lot in this video, but all of them and this one really is. Even when you take a look at just how much work and detail is put into making something like this, over 160,000 frames, which is absolutely insane. Like, wow, animators are really talented people and should be praised as well. Thank you so much, animators. You do really amazing work. To have this dedication and drive to make a fine piece of art for all people to just see this, and for people to see this as just a kid's movie and nothing more, is really just insulting to this genre. Movies like Coraline that explore the dangers and terror of deception. Coraline, not liking her life, travels to a whole other dimension where she meets the other mother. And the other mother offers Coraline unconventional love and food. Lots and lots of food. This movie, like Pinocchio, is really just beautiful to look at. The set pieces, the character designs are great, and the impact this movie has for it to be chalked up as a kid's film, like, really? This movie is freaking scary, but at the same time, when discussing stop motion, it's a must. Both Coraline and Pinocchio are darker movies, so let's change the tone a bit and mention a classic Wes Anderson film that elevated the genre, and comedy. Fantastic Mr. Fox, a movie directed by Wes Anderson that really is just a fun movie with very colorful setting and great character animation. Fantastic Mr. Fox is a film that can be viewed by children because, it is based off the children's book, but I feel like an older audience would better understand this one. This movie is truly an art piece. Same thing with Pinocchio and Coraline. These movies take so much work to film and finish, and for the people to just call them not cinema, come on, it really just insulting. And I'm glad that people are now realizing and appreciating these type of animated movies because yes, they are cinema. As we look to the future of animated movies, it looks bright. We have exciting releases, the first notable one being TMNT Mutant Mayhem. This movie, as you can already tell, has adopted the Spider-Verse style, having that choppy, very colorful feel to it. Even with how the turtles look, they have that comic book shading and lines. It looks pretty cool. Speaking of Spider-Verse, Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse is perhaps the most highly anticipated movie right now, releasing in March of 2024. That can change, but nonetheless, I will be there. Even in the stop-motion community, we have two very exciting movies. The first being Chicken Run 2: Dawn of the Nugget, a sequel to a symbolic and the great Chicken Run that was released over 20 years ago. Really another good movie. Finally, we have the greatest duo in stop motion, Wallace and Gromit, return to the big screen with their own movie set to release next year. Well, not really in the big screen. Same with Chicken Run, these two movies will only be available on Netflix. But anyway, I'm still looking forward to them. The next era of animation is truly something amazing. Seeing these movies finally being recognized and praised for their dedication and time is awesome. I hope that even the heaviest of critics of movies and directors see these movies as more than just a kid's film and a kid's genre. Clearly, these movies speak to all ages and should be treated as the same as traditional movies, but nowadays, there is no such thing as a traditional movie anymore, so whatever you like to enjoy, enjoy, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. Please let me know down below. Do you think that the next generation of animation is looking bright? I would love to read it. Also, check out some of my other videos if you would like. Alright, I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.